Growing up, I always wanted to do so many things.
I wanted to be a vet.
I wanted to be an actor.
I wanted to be a celebrity by any means necessary.
This is Spike Drop Vegas Heist.
I'm only here for a 2B. I don't really care about any other place.
Can't even comprehend what is going on, but I like it.
Hi, I'm Dan, or Dansdaman, and this is Wannabe.
Versus Dansdaman, a gentleman from Kansas that I actually had the opportunity to meet in person in Kansas, but he's from Nevada, actually.
Growing up, I always wanted to be a lawyer or a football player. When I got to college, I realized that I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore because I had no desire to be in school for like 8 years or more. And I was playing football all through high school from beginning of elementary school. And that ended early because I broke my elbow my junior year of high school. I was a wide receiver. I started football because my parents put me through every single sport growing up. If we wanted to try something, my parents found the means to put us into it. After trying pretty much every single sport, swim, soccer, basketball, football was the one that stuck. I liked hitting people and I liked getting hit. It felt good to be able to get away from people, and so football was the one that stuck. I went to school in Kansas City, so my favorite player right now is definitely Patrick Mahomes. Growing up, a lot of my inspiration came from Curtis Martin. So my favorite team growing up was the Jets, and my very first Madden that I got, Madden 07, him and Chad Pennington, like the duo, was like my go-to. And so I really looked up to Curtis Martin at the time because I was still a running back throughout all of middle school, and then I didn't transition to wide receiver until high school. I had been playing games since before I can even remember. Funny story, my mom and my family was at a kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese, but it was more so just like back room with games. Parents go get pizza. They gave us a couple quarters to go play, and my mom found me and my brother back there. I was standing on my brother's back on the pinball machine, and I was like full on shaking trying to play pinball at 3 years old. That was the very first video game I remember playing was Sonic R, and that definitely led into later in my career when I became a speedrunner. So then I started speedrunning that, but I've been playing since longer than I can remember. I absolutely love speedrunning. I started off as just a viewer, probably because of AGDQ. I fell in love with Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario 64, any Sonic game. And after 3 or 4 years of doing nothing but watching speedruns, I was like, man, I really need to get into something. And so I actually, when I first started streaming, I ended up doing a subscriber goal, which was for a 12-hour Sonic-only stream, since Sonic is probably my favorite series overall. But at the end, I was like, wow, I really enjoyed playing Sonic R. I know there's a speedrunning community for it. And some of the guys from the community had joined my stream during that time, and they were like, hey, like, you have any interest? You've been talking about speedrunning and how much you like it, so maybe like let us give you some tips, jump into it. And so I was speedrunning Sonic R for maybe about a year, and in that time I ended up being the number 2 player worldwide for the 100% no out of bounds category. Wait! Speedrunning in a nutshell, basically beat a game as fast as you can. Of course, like there's different positions in sports, you have different categories for what you're going to speedrun. So you have any percent, you have just beat the game as fast as possible, all glitches allowed, just get it done. You have things like 100%, where you have to collect every single piece in the game. And then you have like subcategories. So there are some glitches in games or things that weren't intended to be in it that allow you to beat a 5-hour game in 20 minutes. And some categories say, hey, let's not allow that. Let's see how well you can actually play the full game without glitches. So it's kind of like picking a different position. You pick which one suits you the most, or you can try to play all of them. But most of the time you usually pick one and you kind of specialize in it. Definitely in Sonic R, I specialized in the 100% no out of bounds. I was second in the world in that, but when it came to the other categories, I was maybe like 5th or 6th because like my base skill in the game carried me, but I wasn't experienced in running those other categories. So when I'm streaming, I kind of try to be a variety streamer. I have a very hard time sticking to one thing. I would say during that 1 year of speedrunning, I was solely focused on like Sonic games and speedrunning that. but a lot of times, like, I stream Melee, which is my main competitive game.
Took an extra 15%.
First started competing, my very first tournament ever was at Lee's Sandwiches here in Vegas. And then I would compete a lot at Press Start Gaming and wherever, like garage tournaments even. And then now pretty much the only tournaments are at the arena here. When I first started, of course, like I had friends that I don't know if people would remember, but it was like JPEG and Ironic that would offer to help drive me to tournaments out of state that would keep me competing for Melee. And that was some of the greatest experience I've had, and that carried on for me when I got to college. When I moved to college in Kansas, I was so comfortable traveling at the age of 17 already that I just kept it regular. And now the current people that keep me in the scene, I'm not much of an Ultimate player, but the Ultimate scene here really keeps me around people like Z and Poyo and Ven. They kind of keep me in the scene. I probably wouldn't still be an Ultimate if it wasn't for them. My most memorable tournament moment was when I took my first regional at Super Bit Wars 7. I was with some of my guys in Kansas and we drove down to Oklahoma for the tournament, and it was all of Midwest Southern region, all of our best players. And it was kind of special for me because I wasn't supposed to go. I initially didn't have the funds to be able to travel for it, but one of my buddies was like, hey man, like I'll cover your gas on the way there, just like help on the way back. We already have housing, so you don't need to pay for that. All you gotta do is mostly cover the tournament. And we drove down there and I didn't expect to win. Like I was not in the mindset of like, Dan, you have to win this tournament. And it ended up happening, and I got my first like big regional trophy, and I left with like a couple hundred when I was expecting to be in debt afterwards. So that was one of the best feelings. I still use that picture as like my profile picture for pretty much everything because I got my trophy and it was super memorable for me. I moved to Japan to be a teacher. I had a short-term internship in the summer of 2019 where I was able to go and stay with the host family for a month in Japan, and the whole family was teachers, so while I was there they let me go into the classrooms. One of them taught college and one of them taught elementary school English, and as I was studying to be a teacher, this was like super big for me. And I was out there for multiple weeks and I really enjoy the culture. The food is absolutely fantastic, and so I kind of fell in love with the school system out there. So I had been working for it for the last couple years to try and move out to Japan, but I finally got the actual opportunity last year to go out there and teach English for a year. Now that I'm back in the States, I am back to teaching kindergarten. I'm still playing Melee, still playing League with my old team, and we're on the grind. Advice for my previous self: don't be mean to people. That was something I figured out way too late. I genuinely don't think I was a very good person before I moved to Vegas. That was a big positive for me, as I was able to recreate who I wanted to be. I'm just really glad that I haven't had to change that since, because I like who I created. I like the person I am now. So I'm glad that I got that opportunity to change and not continue to be the same I was in middle school.